knew the wedding would break me long before the text arrived, but I didn't expect it to feel like a knife slipping under the ribs. One moment I was reviewing invoices under the cold glow of my laptop, and the next, my mother's message lit up the screen like a verdict. Don't come. We need a drama-free week. Then Harper liked it. Her little heart emoji pulsing like a quiet execution. Something inside me didn't snap. It froze, crystallized, turned sharp enough to cut. I'd spent my whole life swallowing their cruelty, mistaking obedience for love. My name is Avery Collins. I'm 31 years old, and I grew up in a house where love had conditions I never seemed able to meet. People always say childhood shapes you, but they never talk about how it stains you, how the smallest moments, the ones adults forget by dinner, settle into your bones like cold air. I remember one Tuesday night when I was 8. The kitchen smelled like burnt garlic and lemon detergent, and the overhead light flickered with that cheap neon buzz Elaine never bothered fixing. Harper sat beside Mom, legs swinging, hair tied with one of those oversized bows she always got for no reason. I'd come home with a perfect score on a school project, the cardboard still warm from the afternoon sun, but Mom barely glanced at it. That's nice. Avery. Harper. Sweetie. Try this pasta. I made it just the way you like. I swallowed the disappointment the way I swallowed everything back then, quietly, quickly pretending it didn't carve deeper than the night before. I didn't know it then. But this pattern would matter later. Years blurred after that, each memory tinted with the same imbalance. On my 12th birthday, Dad took photos of Harper blowing out my candles because she looked cuter. At 16, when I worked a part-time job bagging groceries to save for a laptop, Harper used the money I'd hidden in my drawer for a beach trip with her friends. When I confronted her, she only shrugged. I'll pay you back when I can. You don't need it right now. Dad backed her up. Avery, don't make a scene. She's just a kid. But I was a kid too, just one expected to absorb every consequence without complaint. I didn't realize how often silence was demanded of me, or how good I'd become at giving it. Then came the Christmas memory that haunts me more than I ever admitted. Snow pressed against the windows, the house glowing under gold lights. Harper unwrapped a brand new iPad. Mom said she deserved something special for trying so hard that year. I opened my box to find a planner, a leather-bound, color-coded planner. The message wasn't subtle. You're our organized girl, Mom had said, kissing my forehead like she was blessing me with a calling instead of a cage. I pretended to smile, but something in my chest wilted. I didn't know it back then, but this was the moment my role solidified the fixer, the planner, the one who held everything together even when no one held me. Years later, when work consumed me and responsibility became muscle memory, I still visited Grandma June. Her house smelled like lavender and old books, and the garden behind it felt like a world untouched by my mother's coldness. Grandma would hand me tea, warm and herbal, and say, "Sweetheart, strength isn't measured by what you carry. It's measured by what you refuse to pick up." I thought she meant boundaries, but I was too conditioned to listen. I didn't know then just how much those words would become the match waiting for its strike. If there was one place where the world felt gentle, it was Grandma June's garden. The back gate creaked like an old violin, and the air always carried the scent of damp soil and roses. When I was little, she'd let me sit beside her as she trimmed petals, the silver shears clicking softly like a heartbeat. One afternoon, Harper stormed in crying. Clutching the shards of a porcelain rose figurine Grandma kept on her shelf. "She broke it," Harper sobbed, pointing at me. I hadn't even been inside the house, but Mom didn't ask questions. She didn't look for truth. She dragged me by the wrist, scolding me for being careless, for ruining something precious. I remember my throat burning as I tried to speak, but Grandma's eyes steady, sad, met mine from across the room. She didn't defend me then. I didn't understand why, not until years later. When she told me the truth, I wasn't protecting the figurine, she whispered. I was protecting you from learning too early how ugly favoritism can get. I didn't know it back then, but that moment would return like a ghost. As I grew older, the imbalance between Harper and me grew sharper, more sophisticated. At 20, when I landed my first real job, I bought myself a black blazer, my first adult purchase. Harper borrowed it without asking, returned it with makeup stains, rolled her eyes when I asked what happened. You're so dramatic. Avery. It's not that serious. Those 4 words would follow me into adulthood, repeated by Mom, echoed by Dad, parroted by Harper, turning every injury into my overreaction. Every year, I learned to shrink a little more. By 25, I had become indispensable to them. Not loved, just useful. When Dad forgot deadlines, I called to remind him. When Mom overbooked holiday events, I rearranged schedules. When Harper bounced between hobbies, majors, and boyfriends, I stabilized the fallout. I believed that holding everything together proved my worth. But worth built on usefulness is a trap, one that tightens the longer you try to escape. The first time I met Evan Brooks, Harper had dragged me to a run-down diner off Route 7. Yellow bulbs flickered overhead, and the vinyl booth seats stuck to our legs. Evan shook my hand with an awkward warmth, his eyes lingering a beat too long. Harper noticed. Her smile tightened. Later that night, she cornered me in the parking lot. Don't even think about it, she hissed. Think about what I asked. You know what? I didn't. Not really. But her jealousy flashed like headlights across my life, long before the wedding invitations ever went out. After that night, Harper became vigilant, possessive, and Evan became strangely careful around me. Polite but distant, as if we shared a secret I hadn't learned yet. I didn't know it then. But their unease was the first quiet tremor of the fault line that would one day crack open everything. And some cracks, once made, never close again. 10 days before the wedding, the world around me felt colder than the early winter air. My phone buzzed non-stop, not with gratitude, not with coordination, but with demands disguised as casual reminders. Harper had turned me into her personal command center. The first mini-drama started on a Wednesday morning. I was at my desk, the office humming with printers and low conversations, when Harper texted, "Fix the seating chart. Evan's parents want premium placement. No, please." No explanation. A screenshot followed crude notes scribbled over the arrangement I'd spent hours balancing. When I suggested a layout that made sense, she replied, "Avery, just do it. Don't make things difficult." The familiar sting returned, hot and humiliating. But the wound wasn't the request, it was how easy it was for her to dismiss me, as if my time had never mattered. The silence I gave her sliced deeper than her words. The next escalation came that night at Mom's house. The living room smelled like eucalyptus candles and fresh paint. Evan's mother was visiting soon, and Elaine wanted perfection. I had barely stepped inside when Mom waved a stack of invoices at me. "These need paying tonight." The decorator upgraded the floral arches. I didn't approve any upgrades, I said. Mom didn't blink. "Well," Harper did. A quiet laugh escaped me, sharp as broken glass. "On my credit card. It's family money." "Avery, stop being petty." Petty. That word crawled under my skin. I left without saying goodbye, the weight of my forced usefulness clinging to me like wet clothes. But the worst moment came 2 days later at the bridal boutique. The air was thick with perfume and tulle. Harper standing on a platform while assistants fluffed her gown. Evan sat in the corner scrolling his phone, pretending not to watch me. Mom pulled me aside near the mirrors. "Your grandmother has savings," she said casually, as if discussing appetizers. "We need to expand the wedding week. Her money isn't doing anything." My throat tightened. "That money is for her medical emergencies." Mom shrugged. "She'll be fine. Don't overthink it." Harper chimed in from the platform. Seriously? Ave. It's not a big deal. Grandma doesn't even spend it. Their carelessness was a slap. But the real cut came from realizing they had already discussed it, decided it without me or Grandma. Later that afternoon, I drove Grandma June home. She held my hand with a tired softness as we walked to her porch. I heard them. She whispered. They're planning things without you. And without your consent. Her voice trembled. But not from weakness, from recognition. She had survived decades of this family's entitlement. And now she saw the same shadow settling over me. I nodded, feeling something inside me shift slowly, heavily, like a tectonic plate. I didn't know it then. But this was the day my silence stopped protecting them. 3 days later, the group chat lit up like a warning flare. Harper sent a new seating chart, another version she'd thrown together with no sense of space, timing, or logistics. Mom wants this one, she wrote. I stared at it, noticing it completely erased the system I had built. When I asked for clarification, Harper responded with a single thumbs-up emoji. Not approval, dismissal. Then Mom chimed in. Avery, don't overcomplicate things. Follow Harper's lead. She has better instincts for these moments. Better instincts. The same girl who once asked me if New York was a state or a city. I felt something grind inside me. A tired bone finally splintering. But I swallowed it, telling myself not to get emotional. The wound wasn't just the disrespect, it was realizing they believed their own lies. That evening, I opened my laptop to review vendor contracts. The cursor blinked like it was trying to tell me something. When I clicked through the folders, my pulse quickened. Every contract venue, florals, lighting, catering was under my name, my approval. But the vendors had notes from conversations with the family requesting upgrades and changes they weren't authorized to make. Mom had spoken to them as if she held the power. But legally, she held nothing. The realization felt cold and electric. For once, I had leverage, and they didn't know it. I didn't act yet. But the knowledge settled in my bones like a quiet storm forming. 2 nights before the rehearsal, I stopped by Mom's house to drop off finalized schedules. The house was loud with laughter, their laughter. Harper, Mom, Dad, even Evan. When I walked in, the room dimmed a little, like the lights knew who didn't belong. Harper didn't look up from her phone. Oh, didn't know you were stopping by? Her tone wasn't cruel, it was worse, indifferent. Mom took the schedule from my hand and set it face down on the counter without glancing at it. We're discussing the order of the entrances. Harper found a better version than yours, she said. Better. Not fairer. Not more thoughtful, just hers. The way Mom's eyes lingered on Harper, full of pride, then shifted to me with thin impatience, carved deeper than any argument could. Then Harper's screen lit up. A notification. Mom's message, don't come to the wedding rehearsal. We need a drama-free week. Harper tapped the heart reaction. Right in front of me. The sound of her thumb hitting the screen was silent, but inside my chest, something cracked with a violence so quiet it felt holy. Harper didn't even flinch. It's for the best. Ave. Everyone agrees. Everyone. That word landed harder than the exclusion itself. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't conflict. It was a decision. I walked out before the tears could form, before my voice could betray me. The air outside was sharp, winter cutting through my coat, but it grounded me. And for the first time, the hurt didn't pull me under it, lifted something, peeled something back. I didn't know it yet. But the version of me they relied on, the quiet, obedient, endlessly useful, one was already gone. The airport was packed, humming with rolling suitcases and tired travelers. The kind of white noise that makes everything feel suspended in time. Grandma June held my arm as we waited near the arrivals hall. Her grip, gentle but steady. Marcus stood beside us, a leather folder tucked under his arm, his expression unreadable. My heart wasn't racing. It was still, cold, focused, a kind of clarity I'd never known until losing my family in one text. Then the sliding doors opened, and there they were, Mom striding forward like she owned the place, Harper dragging a mint-colored suitcase plastered with bride-to-be stickers, Dad trailing behind, and Evan staring at his phone with the kind of posture people use to avoid accountability. Mom spotted me first. Her frown appeared instantly. "Avery, what on earth are you doing here? We already arranged a ride." "We're not here to pick you up," I said. My voice didn't shake. It had weight. Harper rolled her eyes. "Then what are you here to apologize for blowing up our plans?" Grandma inhaled sharply. Before I spoke, Marcus stepped forward. "Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Hale. I represent Avery Collins and June Collins regarding an urgent financial matter requiring your immediate attention." Mom froze. The color drained from her face, leaving her porcelain perfect but fragile. Dad blinked. "A lawyer. For what?" Marcus handed Mom an envelope. "Financial exploitation. Unauthorized attempts to access Miss June Collins's emergency funds. Wedding-related charges made without the consent of the account holder, whose name is on every contract." Mom's hand trembled as she held the papers. "This must be a misunderstanding." "It isn't," I said quietly. "You treated my accounts like family property." "They're not." Harper stepped closer, jabbing her finger toward me. "You're ruining everything. All you had to do was stay in your lane. Stay in your lane." The words didn't land like a blow, they landed like permission. I turned to her. "Funny you say that, Harper, because you've spent years deciding which lane I'm allowed to exist in." Her nostrils flared. "Oh, don't play the victim. Avery. Evan told me." Evan's head snapped up. "Harper, stop?" But she didn't. "He told me you had a thing for him before we started dating. You embarrassed yourself. Everyone knew except you." Silence swallowed the space around us. I stared at Evan, who couldn't meet my eyes. "That's not what happened," he muttered. Marcus didn't miss a beat. "That would be twist number one." Harper's face twisted. "You always wanted what's mine." I shook my head. "You always wanted me small." Grandma stepped forward, her voice soft but unflinching. "And you always needed someone else to blame." Her eyes locked onto Harper. "Like the porcelain rose you broke when you were 10. Harper went rigid. Mom's eyes widened. "You let Avery take the punishment for it." Grandma continued. "You cried," pointed at her. "And she carried the shame because that's what she learned to do." Harper's mascara began to smudge. "Grandma." "Stop." But the truth was already spilling out, loud enough for strangers to pause mid-step. Mom snapped. "Mother, this is not the place." "No," Grandma said. "It's exactly the place. You care more about looking perfect than being decent." Harper crumbled onto her suitcase, breathing in shallow gulps. Mom's composure shattered, her voice rising, sharp enough to cut through the terminal. "Avery, think about what you're doing. We're family." I met her gaze with a calm she didn't recognize. "Family doesn't get to call my silence loyalty. Not anymore." And for the first time, Mom had no script to save her. They didn't follow me when I turned away from them. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe the weight of the truth, finally spoken aloud, held their feet to the floor. The sliding doors hissed shut behind me, sealing off their voices, their chaos, their expectations. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty for walking away. I felt aligned. Outside, the winter air bit at my cheeks. But it was a clean kind of cold, the kind that wakes you up. Grandma June leaned against me, steady despite the shaking in her hands. "You did what none of us could," she whispered. "You told the truth." I nodded, though the victory didn't feel loud. It felt like stepping out of a burning house relief mixed with the echo of everything lost inside. Marcus joined us near the curb, handing me a copy of the documents. They'll need to respond within the timeline, he said. If they don't, the consequences escalate on their own. The consequences. Such an elegant word for the storm that was about to hit them. Later that night, I sat at my kitchen table, the city lights blinking through my window like distant warnings. My laptop glowed with open tabs, the vendor contracts, the cancellation confirmations, the financial logs I'd once organized to keep the wedding afloat. Now they were pieces of something else entirely, something sharper, something mine. One by one, I closed the tabs until only one document remained, the account protection form for Grandma's savings. I signed it, the digital ink sealing the first boundary I'd ever drawn without apology. They thought pushing me out of the wedding would silence me. What they didn't know was that they had just handed me the one weapon I'd never dared to use, my own autonomy. And the story wasn't over. Not even close. If you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, hit subscribe. Stories like mine aren't rare, they're just rarely spoken aloud. And if any part of this reminded you of places you've been, or battles you're still fighting, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Your voice matters here. Your story matters here. This chapter may be ending, but trust me, what comes next is something they never saw coming. Stay with me.